Good afternoon, and I welcome you all for a wonderful Friday afternoon. So we are going to have a wonderful webinar on inventory control. First of all, let me introduce to you our association, that is Refrigeration Air Conditioning Trade Association. So this association was started in the year 19, 1949. It has its headquarters in Mumbai, and there are 13 chapters across India. In the south, we have chapters at Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Madurai, and a few other places. Today, there are about 1,000 active members of RATA across India. The work of RATA is an association of business owners. The owners are in the line of providing services, supplying spare parts, and installing air conditioning refrigerations. So what RATA does is it creates a platform for all these business owners who are in this line, and it helps them interact among the suppliers, the contractors, the service providers, so that they are able to get materials and services from each other whenever they are required in a much better way. Now that is RATA National, does also liaising with the central government, with the GST departments, with the customs department, the service departments, and helps the business owners to overcome their problems, the doubts and concerns expressed by the business owners, which is being taken up by RATA, and it is being put forward to these government agencies. RATA also helps in conducting various exhibitions, trade shows, and also conferences for the business owners. It is basically a platform which can help members to get various information about new products, about the suppliers, about the various rules and regulations, and everything that is required for a business owner to conduct his business in a proper way. RATA Mumbai, it is the president of RATA National is Mr. Ajit Panikar, who has been ably taking forward the RATA movement across India. I am a member of RATA Bangalore. I am the program chair for RATA Bangalore. Now, RATA Bangalore, it is a regional charter of business owners in Karnataka. Today we are about 75 members, and the membership has been growing very rapidly. And again, at RATA Bangalore, we have been helping the members who are the business owners in various issues which they are facing at the local level. It may be with the local GST authorities, it may be with the local GST weight and measure authorities, or giving our representation for the state budget. So likewise, it has been helping the local business, the people in Karnataka who are the business owners in refrigeration, air conditioning, to do better and to have a bright future. Now, RATA Bangalore is an associate of FKCCI Bangalore. We also have a tie-up with ISHRE at the local level as well as the national level. And RATA National is a member with many of the Chamber of Commerces across India, like Gujarat Chamber, Maharashtra Chamber. Then we are also associate of ASOCHEM. So likewise, we have liaising contacts with most of the agencies and various organizations across India. So as such, RATA on the whole is a information house or a supporting house for all the people who are in the line of refrigeration and air conditioning. So this is about RATA National and RATA at the regional level. Now today we have a very interesting webinar, and this webinar is going to be on inventory control or inventory management. If you ask any business owner, he will tell controlling the business makes about 40 to 50% of his business. People invest a lot of money on inventory, and any wrong investment on inventory, especially on non moving items or slow moving items for a long period, may create a very big problem for the business owner. It may hamper his progress. So, controlling the inventory is very important. And at Rata Bangalore, we thought that we should conduct a webinar which could help our members across India in controlling and managing their inventory. Today, as I told you, to conduct this webinar, we have a very competent person who is very young, very dynamic, and has a lot of business ideas. This person has done his MBA marketing, and his specialization is brand management. His MBA is from the famous institute, that is Nirma Education Institution, and after his MBA, he has worked in Titan Company Limited, a famous Tata Group company. For 3 years, he has worked as a product manager in Titan Company Limited. After that, he resigned from that company and he joined his own company by the name Messrs. Shravan Refair Private Limited. Now, for the last 6 years, he has been working as the head of operations. It gives me immense pleasure to call on stage Mr. Pratik Bengani, head of operations, Mr. Shravan Refair Private Limited, to take over from here. Now, before I call him on stage, I would like to inform you that this webinar is going to be, first he is going to speak about the inventory management, and once that is done, you are free to put your questions in the chat box. So whatever questions you put on the chat box, I'll be putting it across to the speaker, who will be clarifying your doubts and answering your queries. Thank you very much, and please join me in welcoming the speaker of the day, Mr. Pratik Bengani. Mr. Pratik.
Hi, thank you, Prasad sir. Thank you for those kind words of introduction. Hi, everybody. Good evening. Although it's just afternoon, but the atmosphere in Bangalore, it's just been evening for the past week or so. It's just been raining non-stop. And I've had time to process how I'd like to go through this presentation, since I'm speaking to business owners, right? All of us in different categories of the same industry that we work in, either as manufacturers or traders or service providers. One constant fear that we have is, do we have too little or too much of inventory? A manufacturer might feel that I have too little of raw materials, or a trader might feel I have too much of inventory tied up in non-moving or slow-moving or even fast-moving goods for that matter. So I thought this is just a right opportunity for all of us business owners to understand what are these key issues that we face, and is there any way that we can address these issues to ensure that our businesses function smoother and smoother day in and day out, so that we can focus on more pressing things. If we can just start the slideshow. As Prasad sir had rightly pointed out, we're going to be discussing inventory management today, right? From time immemorial, be it 100 years ago or even today, or I think even in the future, one constant struggle that all organizations, big or small, face is the flow of inventory. Even while my tenure at Titan, our most monthly meetings would revolve around the fact that why isn't stock moving out? And even today, after 6 years in this organizations, we have those dreaded days where we feel, okay, we have too much of inventory or too much of money tied up in slow moving goods. So I'll just take you through these small deck of slides. And at the end of the presentation, if there are any doubts, I'll be glad to solve them. So inventory, right? As I said earlier, a manufacturer might define it as his raw material. A trader might define it as his stock that he's going to sell. A service provider might define it as his BOM that he requires to ensure that a particular job site is completed. But if you just look at it as textbook, it is essentially an act of counting or listing items. That's what we do, right? When we buy inventory. For example, being from the trading background, just going to stick to some trading examples. If I have to buy some refrigerant, right? What is the number of cylinders that I have, or number of kilograms of stock of refrigerant that I have in stock? That is what I mean by inventory, right? So as an accounting item, inventory refers to all the stock in the various production stages, and it's listed as a current asset in your books. By keeping stock, both retailers and manufacturers can continue to sell or build items, right? As I said, like they keep it as work in progress. It is essentially an asset for all companies. However, if there is too much of inventory, we'll see during the course of this presentation how it can become a practical liability. So, although this problem has been there for ages, right? And in a 20-minute or 25-minute presentation, I don't think you can solve it. It is not rocket science. It is not rocket science. It's just simple mathematics that all of us business owners used to do it at the back of our envelopes or on our fingers, calculators, Excel sheets. It's just that. It essentially, what is inventory management? It is essentially for a business to figure out how much inventory they need, when they need it, and how much they need, right? It involves taking or tracking stock from the point of our purchase till its sale. I'll go a step back. It actually involves the process from the point of planning of a sale till the actual sale has been made. So that is how we are going to manage inventory. Like I know that I'm going to get a few orders for this particular product in a few months' time. How can I plan best so that this inventory is available at that opportune time for me to ensure that sale happens? I'd like all of us present in this presentation to remember one thing. This simple thing called inventory turnover. We talk about our sales turnover, that we do X crores and Y crores every year. But how many times do we track inventory turnover? So inventory turnover is nothing but the number of times a company sells an item in a specific time frame. For example, of a particular model of a compressor, how many pieces of those am I selling in, say, a 3-month period? That will essentially help me determine what is the cash flow required for that particular piece of inventory to remain in stock, and how much positive cash flow I can generate after selling that particular product. So again, I'll reiterate, please remember, apart from calculating our business turnovers that all of us do day in and day out, it's very important for us to know how many times we're able to sell through a particular product in a particular time frame. So I'm sure all of us are already doing it, or we're doing inventory management in bits and pieces. But why is inventory management important? A lot of reasons. I've just captured them in a nutshell. Obviously, the most important point is that it improves your cash flow. Why is improving cash flow important? Well, if you are able to plan and manage inventory in a very efficient manner, it'll help us avoid getting our capital stuck in non-moving goods. So we'll be able to identify those good products that we're able to sell, and ensure that most of our cash is tied up in the good products instead of bad products. That means there is higher rotation of that particular inventory, and that cash is churning at a much faster rate. Whereas if you don't have an inventory management system in place, and if you've tied up a lot of your stock in bad inventory, it just means that your cash is blocked. Apart from all the other things in terms of your warehouse and your retail store being blocked with bad inventory, it just means your cash is stuck for an unforeseeable period in time. Your second important reason is, again, it'll help you reduce stockouts. If you're able to plan inventory, and if you're able to plan sales in such a manner that we're able to identify SKUs which are able to move in a particular time frame, we can ensure that those stocks are always available. And if those stocks are available at any given point in time, the opportunity to lose sale is very, very minimal. And now that brings me to my third point. If I'm able to give my customer whatever he needs, whenever he needs it, that will definitely improve customer satisfaction, right? And how can that happen? That can only happen if I know how much or what is it that the customer actually requires, and that is all that is actually available with our ERPs, right? We just have to plug into those features saying that, okay, I need all of these products in this point in time, and I'll ensure that whenever a customer needs it, I'll have that particular good moving product in stock. Now again, it helps reduce inventory cycles, right? In terms of having good and bad inventory, although we are in a particular industry where there are very few perishable goods, right? Like most of our goods that we deal with are non-perishable, but there are few products. Say, for example, if you look at a small product like a sealant or a puff foam, those have a shelf life, like they have a defined shelf life. So if we are able to predict that this is the kind of sale of this particular product which has a defined shelf life, I can plan in such a manner that I'm only stocking for the desired number of turns that I require with that product. So my money is not blocked, or my inventory is not going to go to a waste because that's not going to expire. If you look at our contractor companies, right, or our big service provider companies, they have massive projects that they undertake day in and day out, and they need to plan in an efficient manner, so that because of no inventory, there is no production happening, or no production or no servicing that is happening at site. For example, if there's a big contractor who has a new project coming up, and he needs to ensure that the project is done in the next 21 days. But if he's not able to plan for his inventories, that this is the kind of, say, for example, insulation he needs, or copper pipes that he needs at that given point in time, there's definitely going to be project delays. And if there are project delays, that not only gives that particular contractor a bad name in the market, but it also ensures that the amount of time and money he's spending is just increasing, thereby reducing his profitability. Now, from a buying standpoint, if I'm able to plan my inventory in such a manner that I know that I need X quantity of goods over a particular time frame, it just gives me better bargaining and negotiating power with my supplier. It just makes it more simpler, because I know that the product that I'm buying, I'm able to consume in a particular time frame. So I can give him a defined quantity, saying that I can buy X units. What is the best price that you can give to me? Because I know that I have that particular sales framework in mind for that particular product. So it just helps us at the end of the day increasing our bottom line by reducing our purchase costs. Now, one of the most important points of inventory management, it just helps me, or helps everybody understand their business better. They just know that certain products work, certain products don't work, how they can ensure that they're able to maximize profitability because of whatever reasons that they choose, right? They just know that they have a microscopic view of every element of their business if they're able to plan their inventory in a more efficient manner. Um, so, so all of us, when we were in school or college, we learned like what are these different inventory management process. At the top of the mind, all of us remember that, okay, we have LIFO, we have FIFO, we have average cost method, so on and so forth, right? So every business can choose the kind of inventory management process that they need, right? There's no right or wrong method. But since most of us in over here at this web conference are our small medium businesses, I'll focus on one process, which is called the ABC analysis. The ABC analysis has its base from the Pareto principle, essentially the 80-20 principle. I'm sure all of us know 80-20 principles. So the ABC analysis has its base in that. So what is ABC analysis? As the name suggests, right? It's an inventory management technique that determines the value of inventory based on their importance to business, right? ABC essentially ranks the item based on demand, cost, and risk data, and business owners or inventory managers can group those items into those criteria. The most important stock keeping units based on either sales volume or profitability are divided in class A, B, and C as the list goes on. So if if I were to give you an example today, right? If in an ABC analysis, what is A? So A essentially is that inventory of best-selling products that require the least space and least cost to store. By that I mean, it doesn't mean that it's a small item. It can be a big volumetric item, but it means that the inventory turnover is substantially high. That I'm able to sell the products at a much faster rate compared to any other product. That is what I mean by least space or cost to store. And that essentially is 20% of inventory, and so on and so forth. When you look at B and C, is that B might move at a similar rate at compared to A, but it will definitely cost us more to store. And which essentially means that more of my capital is tied up in that kind of inventory. And then your C items of inventory are the worst of the lot. They contribute to lowest of our profits, and they take a really long time for us to able to liquidate those products. So this is just an excerpt of an ABC mechanism. If you're able to look at the top two lines, right, where you're seeing tape measure and carabiner, it essentially saying that the volume is around 24% and the value contributes to around 79%. Again, as I mentioned, right, like the 80-20 principle, that 20% of the goods sold are contributing to roughly 80% of the revenue. So that is category A. Similarly, if you look at the left hand side beside the flower bracket, it essentially shows you that 79, 15, and 6% of the value of goods are contributing to 20, 40, and 40% of the volume of goods. So that's essentially I know this is a really small example because there are only 8 or 10 products. But this, if you look at your own inventory in your ERPs, right? This is kind of the graph that will come up. I can be so sure because I've tried this. It might not be 20 and 20, 20, 80. It might be like 30 and 70 or 30 and 65. But that is the kind of range that you're going to get with your curve on your ERP systems. If you do this exercise on your ERP, saying that if I were to look at what is the value of inventory that contributes most to my turnover, and how many times is that inventory being sold in a particular time frame, this is the kind of graph I'm expecting you to see in your own ERPs. So I've taken the liberty to just show some snippets of some inventory on Tally, because I've the liberty being that most of us are on Tally. So I'll just take a look at certain snippets. But before that, there are certain things on Tally. I'm hoping that everybody is aware, but if somebody is not aware, they can definitely look at these features and enable them on their ERP systems. So what can you do on Tally? What is it that you need to do on Tally to ensure that your inventory is flawless, right? So you can define unlimited groups, categories, batches, locations, and go downs on Tally, right? Like you might have go down A, B, C, D, E, F, or you might have one go down, right? You can define unlimited go downs, and you can have multiple groups in Tally. Say, for example, the simplest example over here is, say, copper pipe. You might be dealing with, say, 4 brands of copper pipes, right? You can divide them, like it can be branded in terms of, say, Mahadev, Mexflow, PTP. All those can be created as separate line items and can be stored in separate go downs. All of that is possible on Tally. Second, I think, again, which is one of the most important things that can happen on Tally, is the second option, which is flexible units of measure. Most of us, right, are procuring, say, copper pipes in kilograms, right? But when we are selling those products, we sell them either in, say, either in kgs or feet or meter, as per the requirement of the customer, right? So what can you do? So Tally Prime essentially gives us an option where you have compound units. What do I mean by compound units? Is essentially that a same item having 2 units of measurement, and those 2 units of measurement can be interlinked. And how am I going to do that? Say, for example, a 118 hard-on pipe is 2.4 kgs of 10 feet, right? I'm just giving you an example. But now my customer needs the invoice in kg as well as meter. He needs both to be shown on the invoice itself. So this compound unit essentially gives me an option to say that I have sold that particular client, say 40 feet. So 40 feet is essentially nothing but 9.6 kgs of copper pipe, and then it'll help me put the rate in feet. So also it shows the unit in kgs as well as the price in a particular thing that the customer wants. I know it's a little complicated, but since most of us do this compound units, like we invert in a particular unit and then outward in a different unit, and then finally we are passing a lot of stock journals to ensure that stock matches. This essentially helps us avoid the need of passing stock journals, and also helps the customer getting him his correct unit of measure on the invoice. If need be, if somebody has a doubt later, this can be shown on Tally. What can you do? Tally has this wonderful feature that I hope all of y'all are using about reorder levels, right? What do we mean by reorder levels? It's essentially a function that when do I order how much of a particular inventory. Tally essentially helps you in the advanced reorder level features, saying that what is the minimum order quantity for a particular item that is required and at what period in time. For example, if you look at say axial fans, right? There's a particular model, say 500 suction axial fan, and you at your base you're able to see that every month you're selling say 20 pieces, 30 pieces, or 40 pieces of that fan. And what is that minimum and how much inventory do you want to maintain of that fan? So for example, you're saying since you're selling 40 pieces of that fan a month, you want to keep 0.5 months worth of inventory at any point given in time, right? So Tally automatically, when you feed in that information saying that as soon as my stock reaches 0.5 months of consumption, you place an order for 10 units. I know it's simpler said than done, but Tally gives you that option saying that as soon as the stock level reaches a particular number, automatically on Tally you can create a purchase order with reorder level, saying that okay, just order the minimum quantity that is required based on reorder levels, and you can send out a PO to your vendor or supplier so that they send you the material in time. This essentially helps you avoid stockouts or negate stockouts. Again, as I said, we were discussing ABC analysis earlier. Tally helps us choose the kind of valuation that we need. Personally, I prefer to use average costing method for the sole reason that our goods are non-perishable, right? With the constant fluctuation in prices, the average costing also takes into consideration the most recent price as well as the earliest procured price, thereby at any given point of time telling us what is the value of goods that we hold in stock. So I'll just take you through a real life example. I mean, it's not a real life per se, but it'll help me explain to you in theory what is bad inventory management. So this is just a snippet of a company called National Enterprises. If suppose there is a company called National Enterprises who is attending this, I'm sorry, but this is just a random company whose name was National Enterprises, right? So if you look at the right hand part of our screen, the value of these goods as on 31st March is 58 lakh. This essentially means, according to Tally, the goods that this particular organization has in stock is 58 lakh worth of rupees, right? Just keep that number in mind, please. So now, I'm sorry, I'm just going back. If you look at, there are multiple categories that this company has formed, right? So if you look at the second line item, which is biscuits and wafers, 1.73 lakh of inventory is contributed by category called biscuits and wafers. We're just we'll do one deep dive of this biscuits and wafers category. This category is essentially contributing 3% of the entire value of goods of this company called National Enterprises. And we essentially have what do you call the exact quantity and the values of this category item wise that this company has. So please remember this. This again, this category is only contributing to 3% of the entire closing stock. So now this is aging analysis, right? Like at the first side of it, it is just terrible. There are most of these items have gone in negative through Tally. Again, I don't know if all of you all do this, but in Tally there's also an option to ensure that uh, you cannot invoice negative stock items. I know that's difficult because a lot of times our sales invoices are made before our purchase invoices have been entered because of whatever reason. But there is an option in Tally where you can just say you cannot invoice you cannot invoice an item if there is zero stock, right? Based on this, 100% of this company's items are greater than 6 months old, which essentially means that this company is holding stock uh, for more than 6 months, and its turns are only like I don't have the balance sheet of this company, but worst, I mean, best case scenario, this inventory terms are only two. Like he's holding stock for 6 months, there's only two terms of inventory that are happening for this particular organization, right? This is terrible inventory mismanagement. So what does that mean? If I say 58 lakh rupees a month as the cost of goods, and if I'm holding it for more than 6 months, if you just take back of the envelope calculation of say I'm losing 1% as interest cost to the bank, I'm losing more than 50,000 rupees a month just to hold that kind of inventory. I mean, 50,000 is a huge amount. I know that I can't look at these numbers in isolation, but unless we do a comprehensive financial analysis, we don't know what is the health of the business. But from an inventory standpoint, these numbers are pretty terrible, saying that your entire uh, stock is more than 6 months old. It's just terrible, terrible, terrible. So what do you do? I mean, no business wants to hold on for inventory for more than 6 months. Especially, it is absolute. It is absolute, as which essentially means your business is in shambles. What are you selling? What are you buying? There is absolutely no control over the business that you're doing. Right? There's a particular turn that you want to achieve of a business, so that you know the investment in your business can remain at a point. I understand that you want to invest more so that you can earn more, but not at the cost of holding inventory for 6 months. I don't think this is viable in today's day and age. So, what do we do now? At the outset, you need to identify and demarcate the inventory which is bad in your ERP. I mean, you identified there is a very, as I said earlier, there's a fantastic tool on Tally which talks about aging analysis. So, you can actually define the kind of ages that you feel are right for your kind of business, and anything more than that particular number of days can be treated as bad inventory. Then you need to do a detailed financial analysis. Maybe there are some products you need to hold on for really long because but your margins can be sustained in those business. Maybe you're earning some triple digit margins on some business and which you have to hold inventory for like 6-7 months or stuff. That's fine. I mean, that is, as a business owner, you decide. And after you identify those bad stocks, I think a good option would be for you to do a liquidation drive. Now, what is a liquidation drive? What do you mean by that? It essentially, the idea or the object of a liquidation drive is to get rid of the bad inventory. That is the whole idea, that you, apart from it costing you a lot of money in terms of real money, in terms of the bank finance cost, it also helps you clear a lot of warehouse space so that you can get in fresh, good moving inventory. So what can you possibly do? You can offer, you can create some offers on your healthy, good inventory in combination with the bad inventory, so that to sell off the old inventory, right? You can do that. You can give away your old inventory for free or discounted prices. It just helps you get rid of that inventory. Better morale for these employees who don't have to keep looking at that bad inventory day in and day out. It's just gone. And you can also do a fire sale kind of an own inventory, essentially giving away old or bad inventory, not bad inventory per se, but old inventory at certain discounts, or giving some what do you call, some gifts along with the old inventory, so that you're just able to clear off that old inventory. This is, I'll just show you an example of what we had done a few years ago when we had some old stock of a particular product. So this is what we had done. uh, this was during an off season. We said that we'll try to liquidate some stands that we had purchased, but we're not able to sell them. And we said, okay, if we are able to do this, it not only helps us get rid of the inventory, but there is some incentive for the person who's buying it, and let him at least enjoy that benefit. So I'd like to say this is the end of the presentation. If there are any doubts, I'll be glad to solve them or help you or understand if I can solve them. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pratik. That was a wonderful presentation, very informative. I think you have poured all your knowledge into this webinar. I think the members who are hearing this presentation by you, I am sure at least some of them have some doubts. And if any of the members who are here, if they have any doubts on inventory management, they can put their queries, and the speaker will be honored to answer your doubts. Are there any doubts by the members? Okay, before I go ahead, I had one small doubt in my mind. I would like to put it to the speaker. Is there any thumb rule method of estimating how many days inventory we should maintain for a particular stock?
So again, it depends on different industries, right? A lot of time you look at manufacturing firms have not more than 20 days of inventory. They have only 20 days of goods to be produced kind of inventory that they keep in stock. However, as a thumb rule, as a trading concern that we understood or we read or we learned, we keep anywhere between 2.5 to 3.5 months of inventory. Our goal is to ensure that we at least have 4 inventory turns in a year. That essentially is telling us that we are in a healthy position. If we have greater than 4 or 5 tons of inventory, it can also mean that we are losing a lot of opportunity sales. That means we're just not stocking enough. We might be losing a lot of goods. Like we might not have that inventory to sell. So anywhere between 2.5 to 3.5 months is a good amount of inventory to have.
Okay.
Like, I mean, if I just put it in perspective, for example, if a company is doing, say, 25 crore of sales a year, what they would like to hold around, say, 4 crore of inventory or 5 crore of inventory.
Okay, that is fair. And to keep an inventory of 3 months, what would be the margin percentages we must be looking for?
So again, as back of the envelope, right? So again, if you are again looking at, there are some high margin businesses, right, that have like top like margins of excess in 50-60%, right? But if you look at your question specifically, we're saying that what is the kind of margin if you want to keep for 3 months, like 3 months,
Yes.
like if you're holding inventory for 3 months, right? So for again looking at that same example, saying that your turnover is say 25 crore, correct? So now if your turnover is 25 crore for the year, which essentially translates into say 2 crore of sales per month, right? So to achieve 2 crore of sales per month, you are keeping roughly say 3 months of inventory, 6 crores of stock at any given point in time. That 6 crores of stock is going to cost you say 1% per month, right? That's roughly say 60,000 rupees a month that is going to cost you. So that's 1.8 lakh that's added to your cost of goods at any given point in time. So it has to always be whatever you feel is the right margin. If you're holding inventory for 3 months, you add plus 3%. What do you feel is healthy margin? Because your 3% of the moment you're holding stock for 3 months, safe way to say is you're going to lose 3% on inventory. I mean, that is the easiest way to look at it.
Okay, I agree with that actually. Okay, thank you. I think a lot of input. I think you have given a lot of insight into the stock management or inventory management. I think even my certain doubts have been cleared. I think most of us, I think I feel that what you are saying today, I feel your explanation of the inventory was so clear. I think all of us understood very clearly what you were speaking for. So I think we don't have any questions, I see.
I think it's either really, really good or really bad, but I hope I've been able to like at least make the viewers understand that it's a really important thing that more often than not is just avoided or just brushed under the carpet because we are more focused on sales, sales, and sales. But sometimes we forget that what is the kind of inventory that we are holding and what is the actual cost of those goods to the business. Apart
Yeah.
from saying that, okay, I'm buying at 100, selling at 110, but what is the exact cost of that 100? You never know if your inventory holding is too high.
Okay. And Pratik, what I feel is the explanation has been so clear. I think there is no point of getting doubts actually. The way you explained, it was really good actually. My points have been very clearly understood, and I have understood whatever you have told today. I think there is one question which has come from one Mr. Kiran Chandra Sharma. He is putting a question: is payment means is credit necessary to bring down inventory? Means I
No,
think what he's asking is, do you have to give credit if you have to reduce the inventory? Because it's like
I
a
think it's
discount.
the reverse. I think what happens more often than not is when we feel that we're stuck in too much of goods or we've purchased too much, then we give out credit.
Yeah,
What happens is we
that's good.
feel okay, I have too much credit, I need to sell, so okay, just let me give it on credit. I think it works as a double-edged sword, saying that
Hmm.
uh, if I have too much inventory, obviously the pressure of sales is that much higher, right?
Right.
Obviously, we are in an industry or the trading business is such that unless you offer credit into the market, you're going to lose out on a lot of sales. But this is not necessarily true in terms of for you to bring down inventory, you need to give credit. It might work, it might be detrimental for you in the long run because then you're essentially moving your cost of goods from your end to the customer's end because you've not realized those sales until the payments have come. The point is, you've blocked up capital in your inventory, and the moment you've shifted this credit, that cash has not yet come into your system, which you need actually to buy new inventory or to settle your creditors. So, I don't think that's a wise decision to sell off your inventory if there is. Sell off your inventory on credit if there's inventory pressure. You rather liquidate it at lower prices so that you can realize those goods, cost of goods.
Okay, that was fantastic actually. I think the point you told was better sell it on lower prices rather than shifting your goods to credit,
Credit,
because
yeah,
that you will not get the money in your hand. The
yeah,
right way, as you told, is to reduce the price and liquidate the stocks. Wonderful, actually.
yeah.
Now we have one more question with us. It is from Mr. Subramaniam C. Do you recommend any inventory modules for managing this apart from Tally? And he's
So,
asking any other module.
there are different modules that a lot of us can use, but the whole point is since most of us are on Tally, I prefer to do this on Tally, right? But if we have a large workforce or if there is a need, uh, these SAP modules, the NetSuite modules, or even the Zoho inventory modules are really good. I've used a trial of the Zoho inventory modules; they work well. But the issue is that you need people to actually manage them. It again becomes expensive for the business just to have a person manage this on separate inventory modules.
Okay,
There
that
are
is
multiple modules
yeah,
for you to do this.
that's very good actually. Wonderful. We are getting comments from members. One Mr. Subramaniam has sent a message. Excellent presentations since this hits the bottom line directly. And there's one question from Nagaraj. How do I track inventory in multiple locations?
Oh, it's possible. I'll give you the example of say for example if you're a trader who has multiple retail outlets, right? Tally essentially gives us an option to manage multiple go downs and via a stock journal feature you can transfer inventory from one go down to the other. This gives you a bird's eye picture of any particular product at any particular location at a real time basis. Now because since you're going to be doing this on Tally and since all your systems are going to be interlinked, the moment there is a sale of a product from a particular retail location, you'll know that there is a diminish of that stock at a particular location. So it's possible on Tally itself.
Okay, I think that clears Nagaraj's query, I think. Comment by Mr. Subramaniam. Excellent presentation. Since it hits the bottom line, that's okay. And there's one more, Mr. Kiran Sharma. He has thanked you for clarifying about the credit and stocks. And we also have a comment from Mr. Ajay Bararia. So he has mentioned that the presentation is very clear and very informative. Now, there is a question from Nagesh Prabhu. Conversion of copper from kgs to feet or meters as per customer requirement without passing a stock journal.
Yeah, so there is as I mentioned earlier, there is a feature on Tally Prime. It's called compound units of measurement. Since all of us usually buy copper in terms of kgs, right? But our sales invoices are usually in terms of feet or meter, correct?
Yeah.
There are two ways to do it. A simpler way is while you're inverting the goods, you invert them in kgs or feet. If most of your sales are in kgs, I mean in feet or meter, you invert them as feet or meter directly, which is possible, which is one way. But the other way is a little complicated, but the option exists on Tally, is that you invert the goods in kg, right? But at the time of inventory creation itself, you have to create these units on Tally as a compound units of measure, saying that a particular kg of copper pipe is equal to so and so meters. So, as I said earlier, if you look at a 118 copper pipe, which is 2.4 kgs, you will say 1 kg of copper pipe is equal to 1.27 meters. So, when you are selling, for example, 3 meters of copper pipe or 10 meters of copper pipe, you'll be able to exactly see this is the kg and this is the meter it goes. On your invoice, both kgs and meter will be present. You need not pass any journal vouchers to change that.
Thank you, Pratik. Wonderful, actually. Very, very clear thinking, very informative. And we have a question from our president, that is the national president of RATA, Mr. Ajit Panikkar. So his question is, Pratik, it has been a very informative session. Thanks. And the question he has asked you is, are you using Tally to manage your inventory? If so, for how long and how effective it has been for you?
Yeah, so I've joined the business like 5-6 years ago, right? So I've been using Tally from day one. I've been learning. After I joined the business, I started learning Tally just to ensure that I have a better understanding of the entire business. I think Tally gives us certain wonderful features. We are not able to use all the features in its entirety, right? This compound unit feature, I just got to know a few months back that this something like this is possible. But unfortunately, in Tally, one of the drawbacks is if I've created a particular item, I cannot change the units of measure after creation. I have to create a new stock item, which again is a little cumbersome process. But if some business owners are creating certain new stock items or have the patience to shift their inventory from stock item A to stock item B, this is wonderful. It gives you the exact picture of your inventory on a day-to-day basis, minute-to-minute basis, provided you actually want that information. Any information that you need in Tally in terms of what kind of goods are being sold to what categories of customers and how much at what period of time, you're able to compare between different periods or same periods using different parameters. All of that is possible on Tally.
Thank you, Pratik. I think we had a wonderful session, lots of questions. I think you have clarified everybody's doubt. Now, everybody has put a question, has been sending a message. Thank you very much. So that shows how well you have clarified their doubts. So with this, we conclude the webinar. We conclude this session, and now to propose to make a summation of today's webinar, and to conclude and to propose a vote of thanks. We have a person along with us who is in the line of air conditioning for many decades, and he has been a very active member of RATA Bangalore. He is a part of the committee, and he is known for conducting a lot of webinars and physical classes. I have attended many of his classes, and he has such a beautiful way of explaining things. He makes you feel that it's very simple to learn. Anything is possible when he is there. I think he's such a wonderful person, and he is a CEO of a company by name Climatics in Bangalore. They are a reputed air conditioning contracting company in Bangalore. It's my pleasure to welcome on stage Madhukar to propose a vote of thanks. Mr. Madhukar.
Thank you, Prasad. Pratik, it has been an excellent presentation. Just to summarize whatever you have told, I think you have told right from maintaining the inventory what is required to the inventory of what is actually not required. So most of the times we get inventories, and when the BOQ gets changed, we do end up with dead stock. And most important, what you dwelt upon is also the space that is required. And in a commercial place like Bangalore, every square feet of land costs you money. And if you hold inventory which is actually not required, or you may be getting another project which is 6 months or 8 months down the lane, you end up with holding dead stock which actually are paying rent along with the cost of the material what you have been holding. That is point number one. Second thing, also what you explained very clearly was with the tally what we use, how to maintain the inventory, which is very very important for us. And we think that we need to have a separate software for maintaining our inventory. We need to have something else. We need to understand the subject very well to maintain inventory. All that may not, you have explained clearly that it is not true, but at the same time it is also in simple steps you have also explained how it can be done. And when it comes to costing, also you have explained very clearly in incentivizing, and also clearing your debt stock by giving incentives to the buyer. So next time probably the buyer will start asking you, sir, please tell us or send us a list of your debt stock. Let me start buying those with some kind of an incentive what you can offer me. So be prepared for that question now that you have prompted as a trader that you will be clearing a lot of dead stocks with your inventory. So be prepared for that. And I'm sure the members attending this presentation would have made a note of it and would be at the back of you to ask this kind of incentives. So this is what I would like to sum up with. That it's an excellent presentation at the end of the day, the most required presentation, because the pre-pandemic, a lot of people would have had dead stock with us, and how to clear those dead stock. The market has opened up. How do we clear those dead stock? What is it that we do with the stocks that are available has been clearly explained to you, and what is the need of the hour has been explained to you. So with this, I would like to say that it has been a very, very comprehensive presentation in 40 minutes. So with that, I think I would like to thank you very much for giving an excellent presentation, excellent insight on how to manage an inventory. And also, I would like to update our members who are viewing this that we do conduct these kind of programs at RATA. And the next program, what we have, that is 7 pillars of business. We do conduct these kind of programs for entrepreneurs and members, which will help them scale their business to the next level. And those who are not members of RATA, request you to please become members of RATA and help us grow this association called RATA. So with this, I would like to thank Pratik once again for having given us a wonderful session. Thank you, Prasad, for being a moderator for this discussion. And I would also like to thank all the viewers who are viewing this presentation. And we look forward to meet you again in various RATA platforms and the presentations of RATA. Thank you all. With this, I am signing off with today's presentation on inventory management by Pratik. Thanks, Pratik, once again. Bye-bye. See you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, wonderful, Pratik.